2022 had some highs and very strong lows. We had a weird man baby take over Twitter, Warner Brothers decided to Thanos snap a lot of its original lineup, and apparently there are 8 billion people on the planet now. In the video game realm, we saw the release of the Steam Deck that allows players to play some of their PC games on the go. There were 2 new Pokemon games that ranged in various qualities, and Kirby finally made it to 3D! There were unfortunately some games that I was excited for and that were delayed due to certain reasons, but hopefully they would come out in the near future. Sonic had a pretty good year with a new film, TV series, a compilation with all his classic hits, and a brand new game which I hear is pretty decent, selling over 2.5 million copies. I finally finished playing all the Mega Man X titles, which was a roller coaster. I didn't play much new games in 2022 with only a handful, but I did go back and play some old ones that I really enjoyed. So in this video I want to talk about the games I played in 2022, both new and old. Firstly, I want to talk about one that came out in 2022 and was my most anticipated game of that year. I'm a fan of the first 2 Bayonetta games, with the second game in particular being one of my favourite titles. So when Bayonetta 3 was announced back in the 2017 Game Awards, I was excited. No, we had to wait for a while with no news until September 2021, where we saw a trailer for the game, and then in October the following year, it was released. It looked promising, however during the week or 2 prior to its release, there was some controversy regarding Platinum Games and Bayonetta's original voice actress, Haya Natalia, that put a lot of fans in a sour mood. I won't go into details since you can easily find plenty of information about it, and I honestly mostly want to talk about it on its own merit. No, it may have soured my first playthrough a bit. I don't really play Bayonetta for the story, it's mostly been about the characters and the high adrenaline gameplay, but oh my god, the story was a mess. I will give it some credit as most cutscenes are in motion compared to the still images of the first 2 games, but I'm getting tired of the whole multiverse story, and Bayonetta 3 doesn't do anything substantial, with it being more of an excuse to get new power-ups and to change the scenery. Certain characters don't get enough attention as they probably should have, and the ending had me baffled. The main reason why I play these games though is the gameplay, and I had fun. I had to get used to the new character Viola, especially since her wit time can only be activated with parries in which she has to be in front of the attack, but she grew on me, especially with her demonic feline Cheshire. Bayonetta has similar moves to the previous 2 games with some new toys, my favourite being a yo-yo weapon. She now has the ability to summon demons mid-battle, which felt like a reused idea from Platinum's cancelled game Scalebound, which I feel detract from their core combat, especially when they have a lot of giant enemies on screen. Some of the boss fights feel like spectacles throwing different styles of gameplay at you, which may be hard to come back to on repeated playthroughs, and I think that's my biggest issue with the game. I did enjoy my time with Bayonetta 3, but I was unfortunately disappointed with how it turned out. I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan growing up, with the 80s and 2000s cartoons, the movies, and reading the original Mirage Studio comics. I still need to read the IDW comics and watch Rise at some point. I also enjoyed the classic beat-em-up games, especially Turtles in Time, so as a fan of the franchise, I was excited when Shredder's Revenge was announced back in 2021. Shredder's Revenge was published by Dotemu, who helped with Streets of Rage 4, and developed by Tribute Games, who are known for the Scott Pilgrim game, as well as Panzer Paladin. The gameplay took some notes from Streets of Rage 4, being a more balanced experience and added a bunch of new moves that makes the game more fun. This game can be played up with 6 people, both locally and online. I mostly played by myself, which was fun, but I tried the online multiplayer while getting footage for this game, and it was very flashy to the point where I wasn't sure where I was on screen. It was a blast. There is a story mode that allows you to go through the game at your own pace, and an arcade mode where you play the game in one sitting, and if you play online, you can jump into the game midway through the campaign. Tribute Games even added a custom game in a recent update in the arcade mode where you can adjust some of the settings to your liking. I played through the game a couple of times, mostly with Donnie, but Tribute added more than just the Turtles this time, as now you can play as April O'Neil, Splinter, and Casey Jones. Shredder's Revenge brings back the original Turtles voice actors, as well as having music composed by T. Yopes, along with Johnny Atma, aka Gam Metal, who put out some bangers. Two members of the Wu-Tang Clan even did a rap song for one of the stages, and it's just great. I kind of wish we got more Turtles games that aren't based on the original 80s cartoon in the future, but I had a blast with this one. Cowabunga! From one multiplayer game to another, I tried out the latest Splatoon 3. Before the game came out, I tried the demo titled Splatfest World Premiere with a bunch of friends. Splatfest works a bit differently compared to the previous games, as there are 3 teams battling it out to be the champion instead of just 2. The Splatfest contest was between Team Rock, Scissors, and Paper, and of course, as a Mega Man fan, I had to go with Rock. And thanks to how Splatoon 3 handles online, I could jump into the American server and play with my foreign pals. It was a great night, however once I got the game, I didn't play much of the multiplayer, only hopping into Turf Wars every now and then. The second Splatfest was based on Pokemon, and after a lack of interest in playing Gen 9, I decided to skip it. A lot of my enjoyment with the game came with the single player mode, which was a step up from Splatoon 2's campaign. A majority of the missions were fun, teaching you the mechanics for the multiplayer, some of them even being challenged, though there were a few that got on my nerves. The finale was also crazy good, being my favourite part of the game. I'm not sure how active I would play Splatoon 3, but I may hop on every now and then when a new Splatfest shows up. I have currently shown some of the new games to play this year, but I did mention that I played a majority of old games this year too, and one of them is the pretty acclaimed Psychonauts, developed by Double Fine, who were former LucasArts developers known for classics like Grim Fandango and Day of the Tentacle. I heard a lot of good things about this game throughout the years, as well as its long-awaited sequel that came out in 2021, so when it was on sale on the Steam Summer Sale, I decided to pick it up and play it. In Psychonauts you play as Raz, who is raised in a circus and one day sneaks in a summer camp filled with other psychics as he wishes to be a Psychonaut, an organization filled with gifted psychics. Each stage has Raz go through somebody's mind, which then lead into some fun levels. First you are in a war zone inside one of the instructors, and later on you are impersonating Godzilla. My personal favourite has to be the Meltman level, which seems like a beta version of Mario Galaxy with a whole conspiracy plot going on. It's a very creative collectathon with only 1 or 2 levels I wasn't fond of. The combat is pretty decent, which reminded me a lot of Rayman 2 with how you move and attack in combat mode. If you played any LucasArts or Double Fine games, then it would come to no surprise that the characters and writing is charming, funny, and it has some sincere moments helping out mentally abused people. No, being an old game, it has a couple of hiccups. I wish some of the psychic powers were used a bit more, but overall I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to replaying this game in the future, as well as getting my hand on the sequel. Indies are a good way to play games on the cheap, and in 2022 I played some good old indies, one of them being one of the most iconic back in the day. I got these 2 games on sale and it only cost me a couple of quid, which are Playdead's Limbo and Inside. Playdead is a Danish studio that so far has only made these 2 games that are 2D platformers akin to games like the OG Prince of Persia, Flashback, or probably the best comparison, Little Nightmares, where the character's weight is very heavy and focuses more on solving puzzles than time and score. Both games do it beautifully in that so oft depressed worlds, with Limbo being entirely in grayscale and Inside having muted colours. The puzzles and level designs are pretty clever. Limbo even has some gravity mechanics going on, and Inside, being a spiritual successor, has more to offer to what the character can interact with. The boy from Inside can even swim and enter a submarine. The stories are both ambiguous, and I personally wasn't invested in the plot. The campaigns are very short and don't offer much afterwards, but I did enjoy my good few hours with both of these games. In 2021, I played through 999 on Steam and said how much I loved it, and I was going to try out the other 2 games in the Zero Escape series. Well, I haven't got to them yet. One of the reasons is because I was playing through another story-focused series. Danganronpa. I heard about this series during, I believe, around 2015, where the series was in its boom with its interesting murder mystery concept of a group of high school students participating in a death game. In 2021, to celebrate the 10th anniversary, Sunsoft decided to release a compilation of the 3 mainline games as well as a brand new board game that came out on Switch. I got the get in on Christmas that year. I played through the 3 mainline games throughout 2022, though I still haven't played the spin-off yet. The first Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, was a decent murder mystery and is probably the most rounded out of the bunch, but being the first game in the series, it's my least favourite out of the 3, mostly since besides a few characters, I didn't really care too much about the cast, with one particular character I outright despised. The second game, Dead by Despair, was one I began to love the series as I enjoyed the main character as well as the rest of the cast, two of them being some of my all-time favourites. No, I could not stand Recon, easily one of the worst characters ever. The chasers were a lot more engaging too, keeping me guessing what was going to happen next. It only got better with Danganronpa V3 Curtain Harmony, which has become one of my all-time favourite games. Without spoiling anything, it has one of my favourite video game endings ever, up there with Uncharted 4 and Nier Automata. If you played V3, I made a video on the ending a few months back, if you're interested. The chase minigames have been improved with the new Hangman's Gambit and Psychonauts, and the debate stone was an amazing gameplay infusion that includes an absolute banger. Unlike Danganronpa 1 and 2, in V3 there isn't anyone I absolutely hated. In fact, I loved the majority of the cast this time. Before I played the compilation, I did hear that V3 ran pretty bad on the Switch, and in my playthrough, while there were frame drops, I didn't have anything that ruined my experience. Well, besides near the end of the final trial, where I thought my Switch was a up in flames. Maybe it wasn't the best version to play, but I'm glad to have played this trilogy. While I didn't play the Zero Escape sequels, I did play through one of the games the director of the series, Takaru Yoshitoshi, did work on. While the newest one, AI, the Nirvana Initiative, came out in 2022, I only played the one before, AI, the Somnium Files. I've owned the game for a while now, but it's been on my backyard until last year. After my Danganronpa experience, I really got in a mood to play more murder mystery style games. In AI, you play as Kaname Date, a detective who works for an organization known as Abyss, that uses a machine that sinks into a person's mind in order to get information that would be difficult to get normally. In the beginning, you start out along with your partner, who is also your artificial eyeball, named Iris, investigating the murder of a woman that Date knows personally who was killed with an ice pick, with the woman's daughter, Mizuki, believed to be a major suspect in the case, and from there, the case comes in with many twists that kept me engaged in my seat. The game has 2 styles of gameplay. One of them is the investigation scenes, where you control Date, where you point and hit on objects, as well as interacting with the people around you to get cues, and the other is where you play as Iris in the Somnium world, to get information from a person's subconscious by interacting with objects in various ways, to break through a person's mental lock. Iris only has 6 minutes in the Somnium, and every action you do knocks off a certain time, so the challenge is to decide which action is best. However, time only goes down normally if Iris performs an action or moves, so if she stands down, the time goes down a lot slower. Like 999, there are branching paths that lead into different conclusions, and these outcomes depend on what you do in the Somnium. Seeing the outcomes blindly was always a treat. The majority of the characters were really good, though my favourites were the 2 leads, Date and Iris, who have a great partnership that play well enough with each other, with their witty banters that sometimes made me chuckle a few times, as well as having a love and platonic relationship. Mizuki also has some amazing moments, and her and Date have a sweet relationship too. I would say there were some times where I groaned, especially when there were some dire situations that were solved by doing something pervy that felt unrealistic. If you play the game, you probably know what moments I'm on about. Besides that, the game overall has a good blend between serious and silly moments. If you like 999, then I do recommend giving the Somnium Files a shot. With the last couple of years, I've been getting these murder mystery games. I may even play through the Ace Attorney games. Some games get announced a bit too soon, like Bayonetta 3 or Metroid Prime 4, that then get delayed for years, and then here comes Monolith Soft that dropped a reveal trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and released it in the same year. They even pushed the game forward a couple of months before its original September release, and it turned out to be my favourite game of last year, the Chads. When I got this game into the eye, my full attention was on Xenoblade 3 in my free time, as both the gameplay and the story got me hooked. After some time, I think the first game is still my favourite in the series, but I think 3 has the best combat in the series. While your move pool is limited at the start, it really expands and becomes a lot of fun, especially since unlike a majority of JRPGs, you start out with all the main party members at your disposal as soon as Chapter 2, along with the amount of customization you can do. There are a total of 6 party members, but throughout your adventure you get introduced to multiple characters that can become a 7th party member and can even learn their playstyle. In fact, every party member besides the 7th one can learn every playstyle as long as they meet the requirements. Each playstyle is called a class and have their own levels, and if a character reaches a certain level, they can inherit a skill or art from another class, making customization that much fun. Each character you have may also be better or worse in a class than others. In my young playthrough, I was always swapping classes for the situation at hand. Like the other Xenoblade games, exploration is a lot of fun, and you are rewarded with experiences by just visiting new places, and the world in Xenoblade 3 is bigger than the previous 2 games, being diverse. You can even see places you may go in the future, or places you've already visited in the horizon from another area. It's absolutely stunning, being the best looking Switch game so far. Some of these places are so pretty. Navigation is also a lot easier compared to the previous games, with a ton of warp points, navigation markers, and a tool to show where you need to go next. The story took me some time to get into, but when it got there I was hooked, and there were some moments that got me emotional. Props to the voice acting, who are apparently all new to the voice acting scene. I believe some of them mostly do theatre work, and if so, it shows. Xenoblade 3 is by far my favourite game of 2022. Money of Soul just keeps making stars fixin', baby. There are plenty of games I would have liked to play last year, but just couldn't, like Live Alive, Soul Hackers 2, Sonic Frontiers, and Gunvolt 3. But I would say I've enjoyed the majority of games I did play last year, as I began expanding my horizons with games out of my comfort zone. I hope Advance Wars comes out this year, but now a few that I'm excited to get my hands on, like Final Fantasy XVI, Rayman Battle Network Jetson, and Fire Emblem Engage, which might be out when this video is uploaded. Let me know what games you played in 2022, whether it came out in that year or any oldies. I would love to hear your comments. I'm also doing a Q&A around my birthday, so let me know any questions you want to ask in the comments below or on my Twitter page, as long as it isn't too personal, by the 1st of March. I hope you enjoyed this video, and may 2023 be a great year.